Hey there YouTube, welcome back. This is the Allegheny Northern in N scale, and today we are doing the May 2022 layout update. And we're going to begin by going through a couple of hobby shop pickups here. And I know I haven't done a hobby shop pickup in a while. I'm assuming that the industry has been hit just like every other industry with various supply chain issues and worker issues. And there just hasn't been enough stuff coming out that's really interesting. And other than Microtrains releasing their monthly updates, which there hasn't been anything exciting, at least for me in there. There really hasn't been anything that the layouts really needed, so there hasn't been an update. But I did need some paints last weekend, so I went up to the hobby shop, and while browsing through their rolling stock, I found these two pieces. The first one is an Atlas gondola, and while I don't really need another gondola on the layout, I suppose you can't really have too many, and it is my favorite color. It's a dark blue, so well, anyway, that had to come home. And then sitting right behind it is a BLMA, which is now owned by Atlas, but it is a covered hopper that is going to be used in the cement service here on the layout. So I am short some of the smaller, shorter hoppers that would be used in cement or fracking sand services. So I went and picked those up while we were there. And before we send that train out, let's go ahead and we'll watch the mixed freight come through. As I go through the update here, if you have any questions about the locales on the layout or how the layout operates, there is a video. It was just released, I believe it was either the beginning of this month or the end of last, that actually was a complete layout tour. I do recommend you go back and take a look at that. I do explain a lot of the operational thought behind the layout, and then I also go through and explain all of the different cities and industries as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and see the other items that were updated here in May. Okay, despite the fact that it looks like Godzilla went through and totally destroyed my Amtrak terminal, I actually moved all of these parts and pieces. And the reason I did that was because I went through and finally got these terminal platforms painted. And not only are they painted, but you will notice that they are weathered, and also the safety stripe is on the platforms as well. The platforms are also built up and raised to the track level so that they don't sit too far below. And all of the track was aligned, tested, cleaned, painted, and also filed to make sure that everything ran smoothly and that the trains could back in and out without any issue. So they didn't require a whole lot of work. There was a little bit of filing, which is common with the Kato Unitrack. So I did make one minor adjustment, and that was right here. I had a very slight offset that I had to put in. So I put another piece of flex track in there. Once it's ballasted, you'll never see it, but I did cheat that piece in there just a little bit to make that work a little smoother, and to prevent the taller, the double-decker Superliner cars from smacking the platform overhang. Okay, the other thing, other than getting that operational, was I built a bridge here for vehicle traffic, and that includes not only painting it, but also weathering it and putting in some signage as well. And I also put signage on the back, just so that we had some sort of realism here. Now, I could have built this from a kit. Unfortunately, the kits that were available weren't big enough, as far as they didn't offer as many lanes, and they didn't quite have the structure that I was looking for. So this is 100% built out of scratch styrene pieces, and if you want to see the progress of that going together, you can take a look at the still images that I have on the Instagram channel page. That has all of the pictures that I took from blank plastic styrene to painted final product. Now, obviously, I do need to take the road and the sidewalk, and I need to replace all of this basically standing in place for actual construction, this foam core. But as you can see, we are slowly replacing the foam core structures with actual structures. So as we make some progress here, we'll get the rest of this replaced. This is where a lot of the time was spent this month in getting this terminal area built back up. And now that it's functional, I can actually start adding it into the operation of the layout. So for those of you who have been following the layout, you know that I am working heavily now in the operation of the layout, as now that I'm going to say that most of the areas are at least 80% complete. Some of them are a little less, like the harbor. However, with the layout now around 80%, I've started focusing on actually running the trains. I know it's a novel idea for a railroad, but the passenger service, while I do have stations scattered throughout the layout, the idea of the passenger service is they are going to be my nuisance trains. So during an operating session, I have my handy DCC walk around throttle, and that is going to control my two trains. So probably a standard mixed freight and then some local switching. The third throttle, which is the command station on the control platform on the other side, is going to be what I'm going to call my AI train. So it's just going to be a train that's running around the loop on the layout, and it is going to serve for no other function other than to create operational hazards. And that is going to be my passenger trains for most of the time. Now, I do have the ability to operate the terminal, and I do have the ability to add in some what I'll call passenger freight, cars and mail service. And then, of course, like I said, I do have passenger stations throughout the layout where the trains can stop. So if I get, the bug that I want to run passenger trains for a day, I do have a means to do that and add that operation to the layout. In that case, what I would do is simply swap it, where I would be in control of the passenger train, and I would use the freight train as my AI train to just make a mess out of things. And so right now we are starting to develop that operating scheme here, and as we get that developed, I will share that with you, and I'll also include some videos on the operation of the various trains that will eventually be named and numbered and so on. Okay, since we were talking about operations, I should point out I got all of 2 more switch controls put in place. And I got to tell you, I absolutely hate this project, but I do like the end result. So right now I'm working on the switch control for the transfer yard, and so far I've got the number 6 off the main, and then the first number 4 into the yard. And these 2 turnouts have not been operated in quite a long time. And I know this is going to come as a surprise, but guess what? They didn't work. So I spent a good amount of time tearing them apart and cleaning them and putting them back together. And now they do, of course, function. And I hated every minute of it, but I'm glad it's done. And now that it's working, so there's only a handful more to go. And once we get those all together, we're on the last section. So it's almost done. So I just got to grin and bear it. Probably for another month here. By the end of June, I expect I will have all of my turnouts functioning by control, and there'll be no more reaching over the layout to try to turn a turnout. So that'll be fantastic. I'm looking forward to it. As we're watching this train go by, I do realize that I have a good number of rolling stock pieces that are just not weathered, and that is on the list of things to do. They don't take very long to weather. The cars obviously aren't very big, but it's just one of those things that sort of takes a back burner to everything else, because it's one of those detail things that those of you who are modelers appreciate, and those of you who just want to watch trains go around probably don't appreciate as much. So let's go to the upper deck, and I'll show you some of the buildings that were added this month. Okay, so from last month, you know that we finally got the lumberyard somewhat situated up here. We are all tied in on our turnout controls, which is awesome. I did go back and file down some of the track points here and made sure that my locomotive could have good clearance, because quite frankly it did not. I was having a lot of issues with the locomotive actually getting stuck. So I took care of those, but we added one new building, and this was the building. So I've got the kit painted and weathered. And the reason I am particularly fond right now of this building is because it was the first kit that I put together using my airbrush. So all of the paint work, other than some of the detail work, is all airbrushed. And I'll tell you what, for those of you who are on the fence about whether or not you want an airbrush, let me tell you, you want an airbrush. So stop delaying, go get yourself at least an inexpensive version like I did, and learn how to use it. You are not going to regret it. I have been using it for just absolutely everything that I can. It adds a whole new level, and I am by no means proficient in its use, but the outcome is just absolutely amazing. And let me show you here two different buildings that were painted using two different techniques. You know, so this was painted using the old brush techniques, and while the weathering is not bad, you know, the coloration is not bad. It's going to get a layer of grime to look closer to this building. This has that old downtown railroad feel to it, and this quite frankly is just a little too light and a little too clean for me. I really enjoyed building this kit. It was nothing crazy. It wasn't anything very difficult. The actual construction, I'll be honest with you, I didn't take the instructions out of the box. I mean, it was pretty intuitive how it went together. It's a Walthers kit, so you know they pretty much build themselves. But I really enjoyed the painting, and I'm sure some of you noticed that the old Pennsylvania Railroad logo is on there. Obviously, we are not running Pennsylvania, the Pennsylvanian. We are running Norfolk Southern, CSX. CSX is on the upper deck, Norfolk Southern is on the lower deck, and there is the Wheeling and Lake Erie that switches this particular area as a second class. However, I wanted to put in a little bit of history here with this, and as we all know, that folks who are into the railroads are very much into the railroads history. So the plan is to eventually get some decals for CSX and put them over there, and sort of leave this as a more of a historic plaque than an actual operating railroad. So had fun putting that together this month as well. Okay, so this next segment is going to be a call for help from YouTube. So you guys out there that have purchased Broadway Limited locomotives, and I know everybody just groaned because, you know, of the issues with Broadway Limited and quality and whatnot. If you'd like to see my review of these two locomotives, I do have a video for it where I pick out some of the inaccuracies that really just irked me. But for this video, what I'm questioning is, so these are obviously the sound equipped models, because I'm sure you can hear the sound, and they randomly have decided to start playing some of the sound functions at weird times, which are usually operator initiated. So like, for instance, the bell has been going off at random times, the horn has been going off at random times, and the dispatcher radio chatter has been going off at different times. And of course, as the locomotives are sitting here for this segment, they're not doing that, which only makes sense. I'm sure as soon as I turn the video off, they will start making all of the sounds at the same time. But my question to you folks out there in YouTube world is, have you had that issue? I assume it's a decoder issue, and that it is picking up a signal from something. I will tell you that I have not gone in and programmed these decoders yet, so they are still set at the factory address of 03. I don't know if that's an issue or not. They're not speed matched, no speed tables, no custom sounds, no custom mapping, yada yada yada, no custom anything. Is literally factory open. So if you have experienced that on your own layout and you found out what the issue was, feel free to drop me a comment and let me know. And keep the Broadway Limited hating to a minimum, just because that's not helpful. But also because I know I took a chance with these, and I blame myself for that, but I absolutely love the SD40-2s. It is my favorite locomotive, and when they came out in both Southern and Norfolk Southern, which are my two favorite locomotives to begin with, I absolutely had to purchase them, so we're just going to deal with it from there. So if you have any insight into why the decoder made this decide to randomly make unintended sounds, I would appreciate the info down below. Okay, the last segment that I want to go through here is some other hobby shop pickups here that are going to be part of upcoming projects. So I did pick up, these are from Athearn, and they are trailers, chassis system. So obviously I do have some CSX stuff on the layout, and I like the old school stuff and chassis, although it is, I would say, poorly recognized here on the layout because, well, it's a little more modern. I do still have some chassis locomotives, just because as far as paint scheme goes, that's probably one of the harder ones to beat. So, but anyway, I did pick up some additional lighting. We're going to go ahead and add that to our town. We've started the lighting. As you can see, the lighting control panel is right there near the unfinished fascia. So we're going to continue the lighting upcoming month here. Also, we have some additional check-in points. These are old. I've had them sitting here for months, but now that the harbor is under construction, those do finally have a place. The last pickup, other than some scenery items here, were some Jacksonville terminal containers, and they are a little pricey, but if you are modeling the intermodal service, let me tell you, these containers are very well worth it. So let me drag you over here to the intermodal yard just for a minute and give you an idea. So this is a stack here of, let me try to separate them here without wrecking the place. This is a Jacksonville terminal, and you can see the level of detail, the crisp lettering on them, and you can also see that my hand is spray painted blue. That was another project I was working on, but the detail is really fantastic. And in comparison, here is just a standard container. I don't know if this is Model Power or Athearn. I really don't know who this is, but the detail's just not as, it's just not as good. It's not as crisp. So the two containers really leave something, to be desired between the two of them. So, Jacksonville Terminal there on the right, and the other guy's on the left. So I have not found one that's better than Jacksonville Terminal. This is not a plug. They're not paying me to say that. It is just the fact that I really love their containers. So I've got a stack working here until I can actually get it into a train. But I mean, they've even got mobile generators and stuff. And if you really want to splurge, they are making well cars as well, and the detail on them is really good. They're a bit pricey. They can go upwards of near $40 a car, and I can tell you that you can find the Athearn versions, which are just as nicely detailed, for considerably less. They're usually around 30, 35. So if you're trying to build an entire fleet, Jacksonville Terminal might be a little bit out, but they do run really nice. So there's a shameless plug for them. Okay, so upcoming here in June. I know I told everybody that these are the summer months, and I just don't have as much time as I normally would down in the hobby shop room here. But I did get a lot of stuff done in the month of May, and I'm pretty happy with where I've gotten to. So what I am projecting to do for June, and we'll see what happens, is I am going to be working on the upper deck a little bit more. I do want to bring this to some sort of, I want to get rid of the plywood Pacific that I got going on here, and sort of bring the town over a little bit. I'm going to start staging some buildings. I've got 3 or 4 more kits that need built. I don't have any illusions that I'll get all of them built, but I am going to start anyway. And then once I can get enough of this figured out as to where I want to put it, I'm going to start building the scenery. And I think what I may do is open the kits up, take the base plates out, try to figure out, how I can lay it out, and then start working the scenery around it, because it makes a bigger impression. Then I can take my time, get the buildings done, and they can just fill in from there. Also, I want to keep working on this terminal. It's been sitting for so long that it's, I almost lost interest in it, kind of. And so I want to bring the scenery from where it stopped. I want to bring that up to the platforms, and then now that I have the bridge in place, I want to go back and get that all wrapped up. And then I will need to continue the fascia and all that sort of stuff. So if I can get some of that done and some of the upper layout done, then I am going to be really excited. Okay, so that is going to wrap us up here for the May update. And the next video is going to be June. I'm not planning on doing any additional videos between now and the June update. If I do get time to shoot an operational video, I may do that, only because we shot part 1 and we never finished it. The train's actually sitting in the exact same spot that it ended for that video. So if I get the time, I'll shoot that and show you some of the operations. Otherwise, our next video will be at the end of June. Until then, everybody have a good, happy, safe start to the summer as we come up on the Memorial Day weekend. And when you find that time, that precious time in summer, when you're not cutting grass or doing family outings, make sure you stop down to the train room. We'll see you in June.